Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and I found myself speculating as of late after watching the Peter Jackson film King Kong, as well as the original, and Rise of the Planet of the Apes, building up to Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, which has yet to be released as of the time of this recording. I think it'd be fair to say that Andy Serkis has made something of an ape of himself going on a little while now, from his mocap portrayals of King Kong to Caesar of the Apes in those two feature-length movies. I'd say he's got to be as close to an expert on both of those characters as can be found, as he has inhabited each of these roles almost entirely. So you know what I'd love to see now? I'd love to see Andy Serkis interpreting Caesar's reaction to the story of King Kong. Surely this ape among apes would be intelligent enough to comprehend the outline of the overall story. Probably even several of the apes in the pack would understand it on some basic levels. And I find myself truly wondering just what those apes, leading for all intents and purposes a rebellion against the oppression and hate they've experienced at the dirty paws of humankind, would actually think of that story. Specifically Peter Jackson's version of it being that's the one that Serkis featured in. Because you have a little bit of everything in that movie. The avaricious filmmaker, depictions of bloodthirsty island natives, the mainlanders fending for their lives against them, as well as giant dinosaurs, beasts, and insects, the poor and suffering of Depression-era New York, the writer who wears a heart on his sleeve, and the actress-dreamer who only wants to make people laugh in times of need. And then there's Kong, the beast de resistance himself, who, as Jackson would have it, the girl fell for just as hard as the ape did for her. And I found myself wondering what exactly Caesar and his fellow apes might take away from such a story. Would they find any sympathetic ground with their human companions, as the story was written by humans, in the vein of how love reaches sometimes beyond romance, as it embraces the common ground of compassion and friendship? Or would it further breach the divide that exists between the two species, ape and humankind, serving only to strengthen their disdain for humanity rather than putting it on an even footing? I'd say that's really food for thought, and I would love to hear, if this video somehow found its way to Andy Serkis, his response, what he thinks Caesar's reaction to the story of Beauty killing the beast and all of that, all the inner workings and backwards and forwards of that story, what he would actually think Caesar's reaction would be. And I'd also love to pass that on to you guys who are watching this video now. That's kind of why I did it. I wanted to pass it out there for those of you who, like me, are very long time Planet of the Apes as well as King Kong fans, what you think those apes, whether, the 70s version of the Planet of the Apes franchise, any of those apes from Zeus to Cornelius, Zira, even, the Caesar of the day back then, to the modern, what do you think the apes from the Planet of the Apes who have had to fight humanity for their own greater good in a sense, what do you think their reaction would be to the story of King Kong? I find this a very fascinating sort of hypothetical thing, getting into the psychology, granted, of animals, but animals who have grown a level of intelligence, whether you want to call it evolution in the case of the 70s films, or the processes of, medicinal embellishment and stuff like that in the modern series. I think it's a very fascinating quandary to wonder what these apes would feel after watching King Kong the film. And so, yeah, I wanted to pass that on to you guys. I'd love to hear from you in the comments below what you think of this, or as a video response, anything is welcome. Of course, I won't be able to respond because I'm a strictly mobile user, as I've said before, and Google Plus has made it impossible for me to respond to comments or even leave them on other people's videos. But I can read them for the most part. They do cut off after a while, so that's problematic as well. But I'd love to hear from you what you think about this particular question. And yeah, that'll be it for me on this. I hope this video finds you well. I'll catch you all later. Peace.